Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on what part of the world you are watching from. Welcome back to the West Ham Network. Anton, joined by Russie B. Russie's back from his holidays. Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, it's great. You carry on. I'm gonna get my Mickey earphones.
Yeah, I hope you're all keeping safe and well as per use. If you are new around here, make sure you do go and hit that cheeky subscribe button. Support the channel. We're going to be pushing for big movements this year. 20,000 subscribers is what we want, is what we are looking for. DJ Russie B's coming in with the old Mickey Mouse
Yeah,
ears.
yeah, custom made, as I said on the live streams. I didn't assume the person who was going to make him is blind, but fair play. I mean, look, bless her.
All right.
Bless her. She's hand stitched that, but she ain't put it on the side. I don't understand why it's not.
It's hanging off. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right.
It's all right.
Maybe we'll get a few made up and put them on the old website and see what people think.
People aren't that desperate, surely. Although people do say we're a Mickey Mouse club. There we go.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, it's the return of the FA Cup.
It is.
And
I can't wear that anymore.
I think that we obviously take on Brentford. We're away from home. It's
Yep.
in the third round.
Yeah.
And I believe, depending on what you say and what the fans are saying, but because the season's gone the way it's gone so far, the mindset for the game has changed, maybe.
Totally. I think it has. I think it's not just for me. It's not the mindset of just us as well. I think obviously the season hasn't gone the way we've wanted it to so far. But we've got to a situation. But also, you got to think about the Carabao Cup as well. So many teams got knocked out at such an early stage. And realistically, only a few teams are going to be competing for the Premier League and are going to be competing for the Carabao Cup. That the FA Cup is a real opportunity for the likes of Arsenal, Chelsea, Spurs, a lot of Brentford, some really sort of Newcastle, potentially. And so there's a lot of teams there I think would fancy it. And to be honest, it's not it's not a priority. It's third priority at the moment. Staying in the Premier League, Europa Conference, and then it's the FA Cup.
Yeah, you've got different ways of looking at it as well. I mean,
Yeah.
I get that, and I agree with that to a certain extent. But I do think there's an element of momentum of keeping that momentum going. We stopped. Listen, I know we said stop the rot, but the rot was losing the game, so it might just be less of a rot. So we drew the game against Leeds.
Yeah.
That was a positive result. It was better than losing. And now what we need is a bit of momentum, a bit of positivity, a bit of something moving forward. And the only thing I'll say about the mindset of the game would be that the game against Brentford in the FA Cup, to keep that momentum running, we probably should be trying to. Well, I don't think we'll line up to try and not win the game. I think we would want to win the game, obviously. It's just whether or not what team members we put out on the pitch and what mindset David Moyes goes. But sorry, the point I was trying to make there was rewind back to last year and the year before. It was all about momentum. Doesn't matter what cup competition you were in. We're going to go out to try and win every single game because that will help the next game. And I think that's the thing. I think the mentality we need is that. But it does give a good chance for players who are in squad rotation to come and show what they're capable of doing and fighting for a spot.
Yeah, true. And I think unlike other situations, unlike last year, for example, where you had sort of we had the momentum, we didn't have a big enough squad to be able to compete on so in essence the Europa League squad and the Carabao Cup squad, a lot of it was very one or two changes, and we always had this sort of very small squad. We've got a situation now where you look at Europa Conference particularly, it's almost a totally different side. And the fact is, we haven't got another conference game until March. So for me personally, I think it's an opportunity for the likes of the guys who would be necessarily starting in that conference side to play and give the guys not a rest, but a full 10 days from the Leeds game to the Wolves game next Saturday. That to me is, in terms of, again, in terms of my priorities, that's my priority at the moment. So I love a cup game. We all West Ham fans love a cup game. I think the fact is we're playing a very, very good Brentford side. A Brentford side who are at home. A Brentford side who've already turned us over 2-0 at our gaff last week. And I think you've got to know what... And it's a horrible way to think of it, but, you've got to fight the right battles. And I don't think this is the... There is justification, as you said, to go full strength and have a real go and keep momentum going. But... you know what would happen if you went full strength and say Declan Rice turns an ankle and Skamaka breaks a leg? everyone's like, well, why the fuck is he playing a full? You know, so it's damned if you do, so damned if you don't. I think.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily if we need to go full strength, but
Yeah.
I just think there's an element of some players that may feature. I
Yes.
think it would be, if I'm thinking about Skamaka, let's just go for Skamaka, for example, getting off the mark again against Leeds with a fantastic goal. And if he can play again and have a reasonable performance, then that could boost them. But equally, though, like you said, we need to protect, because if this is the way forward we're going to be moving, we need to look at the Wolves game as the priority. So.
Yeah, and but similarly, someone like Antonio is bang out on form, but so it would be good for him to get 70 minutes under his belt tomorrow or tonight, whatever time you're watching it, and give him an opportunity, because he's not going to get an opportunity against Wolves, and actually giving him 70 minutes, maybe getting a goal, maybe having a good 70 minutes, gives him the confidence. So if we need him for the Wolves game to come on with 20 minutes, 30 minutes to go, he's going to be chomping at the bits, rather than at Leeds was totally ineffective. And that's not what we want. We want somebody who's going to come in and make a massive change. And I think Antonio needs to get as much game time as he can, where he can, to try and get the old legs working again. Yeah. So it's gonna be fascinating. Also, we made that comment on the opening slide. We've obviously we're predicting an exodus of players at the moment in January. We recalled the likes of Okaflex, Dan Chesters, Neves. They've come back off loan. I think the whole cup tie situation as well. Thinking the likes of Connor Coventry. If he plays against Brentford, that lessens his value potentially. Yeah, and so and also the chances of going out on loan, because he'll be cup tied then, and vice versa. So there's that extra sort of consideration as well to be made. It's going to be really interesting how he puts the side out. I think a few places are nailed on, but it's something to be, I think, very interesting, and to give people a bit of game time as well.
Absolutely. Well, if you're new around here, please make sure you do subscribe to the channel. Give us a much needed boost on the old subscriber count. Get us up there to 20,000 subscribers. Hit the bell notification as well. That will notify you when our shows do go live. If you're interested in becoming a channel member, you can click on the join option. Also, go check out our website, westhamnetwork.com. Regular articles on there as well as per usual. But it's the time of the show where myself and Russ go and discuss our starting 11 and get it completely wrong. As we usually do.
We totally effed it up against Leeds, but not too bad. But there's a few. Yeah, I mean, we made considerations about half the stuff, and it was actually no, this person, no. Okay, there we go. Yeah, but again, this is going to be even more into the unknown. To quote a Frozen 2 song, that's me just coming back from Disney. That's why.
Have you been to Disney?
Did I not mention of it? That's where I've been gone for the last 2.5 weeks. But yeah, so it's going to be a real thumb in the air, I think, for, I reckon, 50% of this team.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into it. Listen, we'll start with the goalkeeper, and again, if you're watching, put it in the comments and let us know your thoughts. Put your predicted 11 in as well. Listen, I made the big call again. I'm now pushing for the call, and I'm saying that I now want officially Areola to be our Premier League goalkeeper, our number one. Yeah. I think the time is, or to be given a shot, at least given a chance.
Yeah.
And okay, Fabianski made an absolutely unreal save at the end, a match-winning or point-saving save right at the end, and it was, Russ, it really was.
It really was.
But you could equally question his positioning for the second goal.
Possibly,
in that game, and also the fact is that he is slower in the uptake for progressing the ball forward for West Ham, and his output, moving forward with the game as well. So are we doing this on what Moyes will do or what we want to do?
It's always a balancing act. I think, let's be realistic as well. I mean, it's going to be Areola in goal.
Yeah. I want to just try and be a little bit.
I know, but I think we will be for the rest of the team. But I think, in all honesty, as you said, on Wednesday there was an opportunity to play Areola. The way Moyes was talking about Fabianski, and he was a good goal. It was, he's been a quality goalkeeper. It was almost like writing his obituary. But then he plays him. And it was always going to be whoever played on Wednesday wasn't going to play on Saturday. And so, and that's, for me, it's, it gives him an opportunity. End of the day, he hasn't had any in all likelihood, unless there's a step change, he isn't going to be playing again in goal starting until March,
Yeah.
unless we get through to the next round of the FA Cup.
And you know the thing about the Areola thing as well is that with the news about Zuma's impending return to the team, alongside in theory our first choice centre back pairing of Agerd and Zuma, you can kind of think about this whole fresh approach in the back line. If you've got Areola there, and then you've got a French speaking triangle.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah, we've spoken about it quite candidly about this sort of French triangle, and although we appreciate that again he's Moroccan, but obviously we came from Ligue 1, and so I mean it is. And the fact he's got Tino Kira there, he could be in the mix. He played at PSG. He speaks for it. It makes sense, and we can see that's eventually the way they're going to go. But it's when they pull the trigger on it, and I think that's been one of the frustration of West Ham fans is that trigger hasn't been pulled. Part of the reason is obviously his injury as well, but with Naif back, and it was always going to be. I mean, we'll go to the centre backs in a minute, but I don't think. Moyes' press conference basically said Zuma's getting there, but not quite there yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's been put. I mean, as soon as he had his knee injury, everything I read was he'll be back for the Wolves game, and by the sounds of it, that's when he's earmarked. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, let's go with Areola then in goal.
Yeah.
So, formation though, Russ. I mean, we like to investigate the world of formations. We changed it again for the Leeds game. But for this game, there's a couple of players that I think will feature, but if they feature, probably changes the formation slightly. I don't know what your thoughts are on formation. I think change the formation.
I think it'll go back. I'll go to 4 at the back. I mean, we tried at Brentford at London Stadium, the 3 at the back. I think also don't forget. I mean, Brentford aren't going to be without Ivan Toney. So it's a huge miss for them, but still, they're still a quality side. I think I don't think we've got enough fit centre backs that I would want to feature to play 3 at the back.
Yeah.
So I think it would be I think they'll go with a back 4.
So we've got a few options here. We've got Dawson Ogbonna, we've got Johnson who can play in that role, we've got Sefal who can play in that role, we've got Kira who can play in that role as well. Kira's come off the back of a terrible performance at left back, which hopefully we'll never see it ever again. So there are choices here, but it's like you said, if it's a back 4, realistically, we're looking at what, Dawson Ogbonna?
Yeah, I mean, thinking back at it as well, obviously with the Europa Conference squad, that tended to be 3 at the back.
Yeah.
As well, but so again. But the thing is, it's like, I think it's a case of we'll put the 11 on and it may well adapt slightly because, it could be 3 at the back, but it could be 4 at the back. I think realistically you're looking at Oggy and Dawson as the 2 with the view of Kurt being back for the Wolves game.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
All right, let's put them in. Okay.
Right, let's move into to right back then. Obviously, Sefal picked up in a bit of an injury. I mean, listen, at the time watching the game, I was so pissed off, as most West Ham fans were. But I just couldn't get my head around the fact that it wasn't even called back. The biggest issue for me was, without looking at the tackle, the incident happened off the field, off the ball, and that was one of the first things I thought, right, surely that's something that needs to be checked. But upon looking back at it, I mean, it's a dirty, horrible, nasty tackle. Yeah. And you've seen the damage it's done to Sefal, and he was limping, and rightly bloody so. It was just below the knee.
Yeah,
you could have broke the guy's leg, man.
Yeah, easily. And it's one of those things where I just don't get VAR sometimes because, as you said, that the whole idea of VAR is to stop any of clear and obvious errors, and to not, even you didn't even need a video assisted referee to show that. Surely the fourth official's there as well. He's like right by him. Yeah, that's what I mean.
He stared at it.
And it's so obvious, and again, it's all about context. And obviously, Sefal had niggled him before, and he hadn't given it, and he'd gone off the pitch, and it was total retaliation. And you'd see that on Sunday League. No problem. That always happens, a bit of afters, and it gets dealt with. But he never got dealt with. I thought the ref was quite poor for both sides. When you have both sets of fans saying you're not fit to referee, it's usually one or the other. But both sides means that actually something wasn't working there very well. I mean, how long did it take him to pick out the VAR on the penalty? And it was a stonewall penalty in his face. But very strange.
Absolutely. Well, listen. I mean, the situation you've got is that probably Sefal is probably not going to feature. I
No.
thought he actually did all right, to be honest to him, giving him lots of credit. Kira, I don't want to see him at left back ever again, but I think he's got a future at right back for West Ham. But the one player I really think may feature in this game, and I know he's not signed the contract yet, is Ben Johnson, and I think we've been really missing him. I really
Yeah.
do. I was a fan that a lot of people were doubting him just because we, I think our most successful period in a West Ham team has came when Ben Johnson has featured a lot at right back for West Ham.
Yeah, I think it was a shock with on Wednesday with Tilo playing left back, because actually, we were led to believe that Johnson was the heir to the left back role, and actually he's done well playing left back and right back. And obviously the contract situation, which has been a situation for over a year. I mean, we had to, in the summer we had to give him, sort of trigger the extra 2 years because he wasn't likely. There was a breakdown in negotiations by all accounts. And mainly around the contract length, I believe it was. He's someone I think we really miss as well. And again, for the West Ham fans, it's another academy boy coming through, and sometimes I think when they get bumped off a little bit, people take a little bit more offence to it because they're one of our own. But I think I can see Ben playing on Saturday, playing this afternoon or at 5:30. But then there's the cup tie issue as well. And so if they were looking to maybe move him on, that was one person apparently they were looking at getting some money for, maybe. Whether it's a step too far, whether they give Kira some more game time to build up his confidence again after a very shaky game on Wednesday, but playing at right back. I think, as you said, I don't think Vlad will play. I think we'll go with Ben Johnson. I think Ben Johnson.
I'd be really. I know this is not probably the right time or place, but I'm really disappointed if Ben Johnson does leave the club. I mean, he's had a really reasonable career so far at West Ham as a young lad.
Yeah.
And I know there's maybe some negotiations there. There's loads of different reasons why maybe he's not signed it. We don't know the full story. And
no,
I would just hope that he does see a little bit more sense, especially now with the inclusion of Agerd and Zuma coming back into the team and the prospects of the future of what, if we can turn this season around, which I do think we can, then what the future holds as a club for West Ham. And maybe looking at other scenarios like Ngakia and seeing the situation there, I do think Ben Johnson is better than Ngakia.
Yeah.
But you know, the grass isn't always greener. The famous comment we always say.
It's true. I mean, you look at Sonny Perkins as well. He hasn't really made much of an impact at Leeds. He's only just got into the. I think he's played like one game. Looking for first team football, he had more than that at West Ham. You look at Ngakia. You look at Ashby. I mean, for me, I'd throw Ashby on, but he's not going to play Ashby, which is a shame because he's a great player. I just think I really think he's going to be one of the ones we look back at and have missed out on. I never really thought of Ngakia, but Ashby.
Yeah, no, I think Ashby, you're right there with Ashby, but there's obviously, I think there's more to the Ashby situation than what meets the eye in terms of, maybe his mentality isn't right for the club, and if he's not going to have the patience, and maybe there's been other managers out there that would probably play him a lot earlier, but if your head is turned and you want to leave the club, then there's just no point in giving you that run out. It's unfortunate because I know you're a big fan and I'm a big fan as well. So, but yeah, I'll go with Ben Johnson.
Yeah, we'll go with Benny Boy Johnson. No problem. Lamo.
Left back.
Now this one's interesting. There's options, isn't there? Obviously, Cress was dropped. He was dropped to the week in the midweek and brought on when obviously Vlad got injured and moved Kira back to right back. I think that's not going to be the case. He may throw in Emerson, but then he's had opportunities to play Emerson like against Leeds and would prefer to put Tilo Kira left back rather. I'm going to throw in Ollie Scholes.
I mean, listen, I'd love to see that. I'll back that up. I was going to say Emerson. I still think I'll go with your choice.
I think you're probably right with Emerson, to be honest.
No, I'm going to say Emerson, but I think he normally would come in a back five, but he can play in that role. I mean, if he plays Ollie Scholes in ahead of Emerson Palmieri, then I think Emerson would be fucking raging.
Yeah. It's
The
different.
but to that is,
Yeah,
Scarles does look like a fucking tiny bit of business, and at some point we're going to have to breathe some of these youth players through. It's just whether or not you do it for this game.
it's when and where, isn't it? So obviously you have the whole thing around the Europa League, over Conference League, where it was a dead rubber. It made perfect sense, but Ollie came in that game with, with he was arguably man of the match. Really, should have scored. Really, but maybe it's a step too much. I mean, if we was playing, no disrespect, if we was playing a Scunthorpe or playing someone like a Mansfield Town, then I could see them doing that. But actually, Brentford are the worst thing you want to do is do what like Big Sam did and put out like a bunch of kids against Forest and lose 5-0 and just. For me, if we lose, but we lose, I never want us to lose a game at all. But if we lose this game and it is on extra time or a 1-0 or it was a good performance, that to me can keep the momentum going because you've always got the not excuse, we always got in the back of the mind, oh, it wasn't our first team. It was our B team versus their B team, and actually it's probably our B minus team. So I think you're probably right. We'll go with Emerson. Although saying that, after Masuaku, he's coming back from his.
He's coming back, isn't he?
He's coming home. He's coming. Yeah, King Arthur. And don't forget, King Arthur was an integral part to Davy Moyes' second tenure at the beginning, wasn't it? As a left wing back.
You know what? I'm going to give a shout out here to a former player of ours, Julian Faubert. He went away, went on loan, Real Madrid, didn't work out for him, came back and actually worked his way back into the team and became quite an integral part of that team for West Ham before he obviously ended his career at West Ham or when he moved on after that. So you never know.
And we'll have Julian back on soon actually to talk. So yeah, he's coming back on soon. But anyway, we'll put Emerson in. We'll put Emerson in. As you said, it's. I think if they picked Ollie Scarles instead of him, I mean, he must be pissed off anyway. The fact is they put Tilakira there instead of him or Cress on the weekend, so on the week, so midweek. So yeah, okay.
Let's move into the midfield then. Let's go for the double inclusion. Flint Downs has been coming. I mean, he's featuring a lot more than what Alex Kroll did. So, but I mean, I really do like Flint Downs, and I've been saying more recently actually about the kind of Souček inclusion. Against Leeds, that in actual fact, I thought Souček had a good game, but I just wonder now if Flynn Downs would come in as that trio. Is it Mandy? Mandy's been saying it in the chat for weeks. She's been going, it's ridiculous why you're not playing Downs alongside Paqueta and Rice. And in actual fact, no, I agree with you, Mandy. I think that could work. I think that really could work. But I don't think it's going to happen for the Wolves game. No. I think it would be Flynn Downs' performance for this one, probably alongside Lanzini. Do you agree in that?
I agree wholeheartedly with this message. I think you're looking at Flynn and Lanzini again. I don't think they'll play Coventry because that puts an issue towards his potential usefulness in terms of going out on loan or maybe even getting some money for him in January. So I think it'll be them two. To be honest, as we reported yesterday, that Lanzini could well be gone in January to River Plate. They're sniffing around for him, looking at getting him in January rather than waiting until the summer, where there's more competition because he's a free transfer. He can name his price. I think it could be his swan song. It could be Lanzini's swan, as particularly as he wouldn't be necessarily playing any conference football until March. So,
absolutely. Yeah. Right, okay, I agree with you there. What about the right-hand side of midfield? I mean, a player that plays week in and week out every game under the sun is Jared Bowen.
Yeah.
I think he's actually been performing quite well recently, especially against Leeds. I thought he was really effective. He's won a couple of penalties for us. But I think there's a game that I think he might not play, and it's this one.
Yeah, it's a strange one with Bowen, isn't it? I mean, for me, I think it's a tough game. I can actually see him playing in this game because because sometimes because we don't really have the alternative on the right hand side. That being said, we have just recalled Armstrong Okaflex, who would have been someone I would have probably thrown in because why not? This is hardly a dead rubber, but for me this is not a priority match for us at all. But I think Bowen. We don't really have any other options on the right hand side.
You're probably right.
I mean, you could put Fornals there, but I think it's pretty much. I can see Bowen. You know, it's not going to be a completely different side from Leeds, but based if he came out unscathed, he's still got a week to recover from any injury. And that's the issue for me. It's the right hand side. We don't really have any cover for him. Whereas most of the other the team we've put out so far, none of them will feature. Well, with the exception of Craig Dawson, featured in the starting lineup against Leeds.
Yeah.
And it's only because Dawson's coming in because Zuma will be back next week. But yeah, we'll put in. We'll put Bowen in. We'll put Bowen in. I think.
Cool. So that gives us I suppose another dilemma out on the left hand side. What do we do out on the left hand side? You know, Ben Rama didn't was rested for the game against Leeds. So what does that mean? He gets a game, gets his old club.
Probably will do.
I think he might.
I think he probably will do. I think you know, looking at it now, we're getting less players now. I think he will do. I think he will get some time, some game time. Again, the fact is because we've got a week in between this and the next game. I mean, also we're playing Wolves away next week, so I can see Fornals coming in, but I think Fornals is going to play tomorrow as well in the centre. So I think probably Benny, and then personally I would be putting Fornals in the middle.
Yeah.
Because again, it's his energy, and again, this may change. You know, we know they Fornals was all over the bloody place at the week on Wednesday, and so he could be playing left, right. Benny could come in the middle, play as a 10. But I don't think they'd risk Paqueta, Rice, and Tommy Soucek. I don't think they will.
Absolutely not. And I suppose this leaves us with a big decision up top because normally I think in these games we would I would predict that we would go with Antonio. The big but to that is that he's been utilising Antonio and Scamacca. You know, if you think about the Leeds game, probably could question him on the substitute of bringing Scamacca off. It probably wasn't the right decision alongside Paqueta and Fornals, but it happened, and he brought Antonio on. This could be a big game for Devon because Devon has stepped in and started, and he's getting a little bit of game time, and by playing Devon could really show what he is capable of doing. Now, I don't think playing Devon in this game would make Antonio go, what the fuck's happening here? I think Antonio's getting regular enough game time between all the games that are getting played that would warrant maybe Devon getting a shot. Third round FA Cup, written in the stars, showing what you're capable of. You've got a good team behind you there. Give him the ball, see what he can do. I'm pushing the boat out there, Russ.
Yeah, no, I'm same on the bench. Yeah, I'm same on the bench. I'm coming off the bench with you as well, and I think Divin deserves. I think actually this is it's with these types of games where you can make someone's career. You can make someone, you know, and obviously the whole Europa Conference stuff where he came on and he did score. I know he got taken off, but you know he did score on his skulls. In terms of momentum, in terms of getting the fans on your on side, playing a young lad up front and say he scores, that's great. That will get the fans behind him. I think he could well start. It could mean potentially. I don't think it will ever happen, but it could be potentially Antonio plays out on the right and Barry gets a rest and you put Divin up front. It won't happen because he sees, and that's one of my major frustrations is I'd rather Antonio be a winger replacement rather than a striker replacement. But I think, why not Divin? I think you've got the rest of the team isn't inspiring, so to speak. It's quite functional. We can guess the likes of Fornals and Ben Rama and Bowen.
Well, but it is because if you do play Benny, Fornals, Bowen, and even Downs, it shows you what There's three players there that questionably are starting players. The front three are the starting.
The front three are,
yeah, and then it shows you what the capabilities of Downs. I mean, I think Lanzini thrives upon Ben Rama's and Fornals in the team. I think that's where he benefits. I know it's not been the greatest of seasons for him, but he thrives upon creativity around him, playing in that deeper role. But for me, playing Devon, the boy's stepping up to the plate in every level he's been asked to play at, including the Europa League game. where
Yeah.
the goal should never have been chopped off. So I'm like you said, I award him the goal. So he's played first team football, scored a goal. He's played under 21 level development team, scored goals, and he's played under 18s and he scored goals. And he actually says in his press conferences, he seems really humble. He goes, I just want to play football. So when
Yeah.
they stopped the development team, he's like, I want to go back to under 18s. Let me play. Let me play. And I love that about a player like him. So the difference between him and Mipo the Biku is that Mipo came onto a huge stage at Old Trafford when West Ham, not that I'm saying we don't want to win the FA Cup, but the pressure was
Yeah.
more on the FA Cup because we were doing well in the league,
Yeah.
but we're not doing so well in the league. So the pressure slightly it's still on. It's still on, but you've got a player that's got a lot of confidence that I don't think putting him in, and even if he doesn't score, would hamper him.
No, I agree. I agree. I think this is a great opportunity to give the likes of Downs some good minutes, the likes of Lanzini some good minutes, regardless of what happens in January with him. And I think with Divin, it gives him a real opportunity to put a marker down because that second striker role is still. I know Antonio. He's Moyes is a hard on for him, but Antonio's going to get injured soon. And we need that second striker, unless you're going to go and buy Danny Ings, or unless you're going to go, we need someone. We need someone who can come on, and we've seen what a good player he is. We know he knows where the back of the net is. He's a natural striker, and this is a great opportunity for him to test him against a Premier League side. And we don't know. We might need him. We might need him against Wolves or against Everton or against Forest in the next few games. It gives him an opportunity to get some minutes. And we talk about, and it's this juxtapositioning in terms of, people go, we're not blooding players through and they're not coming through for the academy. Moyes' job's on the line, really. He can't experiment. This is an opportunity to experiment to some degree. Same as he did with the conference game, the FCSB one, which was basically, it was a dead rubber. You could put the kids in. The experiment kind of worked. Here you can experiment with Divin, giving him some game time around a very. You still have quite a strong side. I mean, there's going to be hundreds of Premier League appearances between the guys who are playing combined. So why not? Why not? I mean, we know it's probably going to be Antonio. But
I was gonna say though that when you're looking at this team here, this 11 that myself and Russ have put out, there's a strong possibility big changes will take place. You never know. We could get surprised. It could be Fabianski, but the chances are it's going to be Areola.
Yeah.
The right back position's up for grabs. Left back position, the formation's up for grabs. Lanzini may feature, may not feature. Fornals may or may not feature. Bowen may or may not. And Devin may or may not. There's so many different changes there, but that's a decent predictive 11 for the FA Cup, and it kind of it's an exciting one. And if I saw that, I would be excited by the inclusion of Devin and seeing Johnson back in the team again, and giving Palmieri a bit of a run out, and the forward line's creativity there. So it's got something about it, and there's players there that want to show. Do you know what? Give me a chance, give me a shot. Because I'm capable of doing it, and I need to show you what I'm doing. I think Ogbona's resigned to knowing what his role is at the club.
Yeah,
I think Dawson, in theory, has been resigned to knowing what his position is. However, he's called upon week in and week out still 2.5 years later.
Yeah, so true. I mean, again, we talk about the whole cup tie thing as well. I mean, you look at Dawson. If he's looking to go back to up north and go to the Wolves, then the thing is, we're a bit strapped for numbers, really, at the back.
He's not going anywhere, though. I think he's here till the summer.
Yeah.
I think he is.
But, Luis Al's in now, isn't he? So, it's a bit too early for him to start or to play anything. And he'll be in the kids anyway. But, I don't think it's a bad side at all. It'd be interesting to see the side Brentford put out, because I think they'll put quite a strong side out, because I think they'll fancy it. This year, I think there's a very good chance this year. They're sort of safe they're in a position now where they're probably hitting the ceiling of where they're going to go league-wise this season. So they'll be putting out a strong side. Brentford always in it.
Well, the other interesting thing about this is that, Thomas Frank said he pretty much knew how West Ham were going to set up. And if you play this team, he doesn't really necessarily. But the thing is, it's probably going to be a game, this FA Cup game, that Thomas Frank isn't going to be able to predict West Ham. Whereas you could predict West Ham in the Premier League as such, and that's we turned up, done what he said we would do, and they got the victory over us, and hopefully this can change that. Hopefully,
yeah. And as I said, it'll probably be totally different anyway when it comes. at
Absolutely.
4:30. It will be totally different when this team's announced. But yeah, but that's just our view.
It is our view. Russ, what's your predictions?
I don't think. Well, I don't know. It's these weird games that we might. I think, honestly, I think it'll do us more harm than good winning, because then it adds another game. I know, but there's a momentum thing. I can see both sides of it, and I can. I've closed my eyes, but I can still see you talking. I know what you're saying. I don't think we'll win. I think we'll go to extra time, and I think we'll lose in extra time, which is very unlike me. But knowing us, we'll probably turn up and win 3-0. It's just it's such a West Ham thing. It's just so it's such an and actually it would be a bad thing winning and going through another game, because you can give the conference side another game before we end up playing in the final 16 of the conference. So I'm going to go for a draw after after full time, and whatever will be after that will be.
What will be? I've got 2-1 West Ham. 2-1 West Ham. Come on, you guys. Devin with a brace. Imagine that.
That'd be nice.
Right, that brings it into our predicted 11 for the Brentford games. So, yeah, we just need to. Hopefully, we're doing a match day live as well ahead of the game. So keep your eyes on the channel. Thank you for watching. Go and check out all the content we've had out over the morning, the little mini preview that I've done, and all the daily and the Hammers headline stuff yesterday from the David Moyes press conference. You name it. Tommy's show last night, great show. So go and check it out.
Yep.
Hit the subscribe button, like, thumbs up, you name it. Give us your honest feedback. Russ, I'll give you the last word, mate.
Come on, you Irons. Keep the faith.
Irons.
Irons. Irons.